In 1720, the smartest man on earth walked into a trap. Sir Isaac Newton wasn't just a genius, he was the definition of human intellect. He unlocked the secrets of gravity, invented calculus, and mapped the motion of the planets. Logic was his weapon, and he used it to decipher the universe. But in the spring of 1720, that weapon failed him. Newton didn't lose his fortune because of a miscalculation. He lost it because he fell victim to a psychological weapon that is still being pointed at you today. He was sucked into the South Sea bubble's original financial catastrophe that wrote the blueprint for every crash, rug pull, and economic crisis in history. When the dust settled, Newton had lost the modern equivalent of millions. He spent the rest of his life forbidding anyone from speaking the words South Sea in his presence. This isn't just a history lesson. This is a warning. The exact same mechanism that fooled Newton is currently running in our stock markets, our crypto exchanges, and our housing sector. Today, we are going to dissect the South Sea bubble. We will expose how the elites rigged the game 300 years ago, why the system is designed to transfer wealth from the disciplined to the desperate, and how you can avoid the fate of the man who could calculate the stars, but not the madness of men. To understand the bubble, you have to understand the desperation that birthed it. The year is 1711. Britain is on its knees. The War of Spanish Succession has drained the treasury. The government is drowning in debts of millions of pounds that it cannot repay. In the 18th century, national debt wasn't just a number on a screen, it was a death sentence. If the crown couldn't pay, the navy couldn't sail, and the empire would crumble. Britain needed a miracle. What they got was a scam. Enter the South Sea Company. On paper, this company was sold as a golden ticket. The government granted them a monopoly on trade with South America's Spanish colonies. The pitch was dazzling. British ships would sail out and return heavy with Aztec gold and Peruvian silver. It was the Amazon, Tesla, and Bitcoin of its day, all wrapped into one promise of infinite wealth. But behind closed doors, the company was a hollow shell. The reality was that Spain still controlled South America and Britain was effectively at war with them. The monopoly was worthless. The company was allowed to send one single ship a year. One ship. That is not a business plan, that is a joke. But the company's true product wasn't trade, it was debt. The scheme was simple. The South Sea Company would take on the government's massive debt. In exchange, they got the right to print stock and sell it to the public. It was financial alchemy turning toxic government debt into shiny, speculative shares. By 1720, the trap was set. The directors of the South Sea Company knew the business was a sham. They knew there was no gold coming from Peru. So they did what every modern scammer does. They sold the narrative. They launched a propaganda campaign that would make a modern marketing firm blush. They bribed newspapers to run stories about untold riches. They spread rumors in London's coffee houses that a peace treaty was imminent and that the floodgates of wealth were about to open. But they didn't just target the average citizen. They went for the throat of the system. The company bribed Parliament. They gave free shares to politicians, judges, and even the king's inner circle. It was corruption on an industrial scale. By giving the lawmakers a financial stake in the company's success, they ensured the government wouldn't regulate them, it would cheer them on. Even King George I became the governor of the company. Imagine if the President, the Senate, and the Federal Reserve were all given early access to a new crypto coin before pumping it to the public. That is exactly what happened. The stock price ignited. In January 1720, a share cost £128. By March, it was £330. By May, it was £550. London lost its mind. Dukes sold their estates. Maids gambled their wages. The fear of missing out gripped the nation. People saw their neighbors getting rich overnight without doing any work and their discipline shattered. This is where Isaac Newton enters the story. Newton was not immune to the hype. He actually bought in early. He made a profit of 7,000, a massive fortune at the time, and sensibly sold his shares. He had won. He had beaten the market. But then the most dangerous thing in investing happened. He watched the price keep going up. He watched his friends people far less intelligent than him becoming millionaires while he sat on the sidelines with his cash. The psychological pressure was unbearable. The genius who operated on pure cold logic was suddenly drowning in hot emotion. In late spring, with the stock price nearing its peak, Newton cracked. He jumped back in. He didn't just invest his profits, he emptied his accounts. He bought in at the absolute top of the bubble, convinced that this new paradigm would last forever. He let greed override his system. He abandoned his discipline for the herd. In the summer of 1720, South Sea stock hit £1,000. The company was valued at more than all the physical cash in Europe. It was a mathematical impossibility. And then gravity took over. The insiders, the directors, and the corrupt politicians knew the music was stopping. They quietly began selling their shares, cashing out while the hype was at fever pitch. As the sell-off began, the momentum shifted. The price slipped to £800, then £600. Panic set in. It was a stampede for the exit. Everyone tried to sell at once, but there were no buyers. The stock plummeted back down to £100. The aftermath was apocalyptic. The British economy was incinerated. Suicides skyrocketed. Ancient aristocratic families were destitute overnight. The middle class was wiped out. Newton lost £20,000. In today's money, that is a life-changing fortune, gone in the blink of an eye. Here is the bitter lesson history tries to hide. Who actually paid the price? The small investors, the shopkeepers, the scientists, the elites. Most of them walked away fine. Robert Walpole, the politician who managed the cleanup, ensured that the stability of the state was prioritized over justice. The directors were punished, yes, but the banking system that allowed the fraud to happen was protected. In fact, at the height of the bubble, Parliament passed the Bubble Act. On the surface, it looked like a law to stop fraud. In reality, it was requested by the South Sea Company to stop other companies from competing for investor money. The regulation wasn't designed to protect you. It was designed to protect the monopoly. Does this sound familiar? In 2008, banks gambled with your future and got bailout out. In every modern bubble, insiders pump the asset, sell at the top, and leave the retail investor holding the bag. The technology changes, but the game remains the same. It is a wealth transfer from the impatient to the powerful. So why does this matter 300 years later? Because right now you are being sold a new South Sea bubble. It might be a meme coin, an AI startup with no revenue, or a guaranteed real estate flip. The mechanism is always the same. They promise you easy wealth to bypass the hard work. They weaponize your greed. They make you feel like a loser for not getting in early. Isaac Newton had the highest IQ in history, and he got wrecked. Why? Because IQ is not the same as discipline. Intelligence is not a shield against herd psychology. If you want to survive in this world, you need to build a mental fortress. You must be able to watch other people get lucky and not flinch. You must see the crowd running in one direction and have the courage to stand still. Real wealth is not found in a mania. Real wealth is boring. It is built through skill acquisition, business execution, and compounding patience. The South Sea bubble proves that there are no shortcuts. There are only traps. The next time you see a guaranteed opportunity that everyone is talking about, remember Isaac Newton. Don't let the madness of men destroy what you are building. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. If you want to understand the true nature of power and money, make sure you are subscribed. I'll see you in the next one.